Hi everyone, welcome back to Adobe Live Pro Tips. And we've made it to our final day of Adobe Express, but not without learning a few more tips on how to navigate this amazing app. My name is Cyn Lagos. I am a graphic designer, photographer, and aspiring filmmaker. I focus on mentoring folks like you in the aspiring world of creative arts. If you want to check out some of the restreams of what we've been exploring this week and last, because we explored Lightroom last week, that was a lot of fun. You can check out my website on cynlagos.com/classes, where you can see all of the collections. I've been working really hard on making sure you can keep up with all the skill sets that we've been doing here. If you've been here this entire time, bravo. Kudos to you. This is amazing. I hope you've been learning a lot. I hope you've been feeling very inspired, because I've felt like more inspired to include this within my workflow. I have been doing it quite a bit now for my shorts. So if you're keeping up with the socials, you've probably seen that too. All right, let's go over some of the things that we saw this week. It's been so cool because we had this concept of doing an idea around live streaming assets, which was really awesome. At first, it was like, okay, wait, where do we go with this? But it has been really interesting to just navigate the different ways we can develop a branding within Adobe Express. And we've created some really cool assets. We created our intro page. We created our scene where we're going to display our work. And these are assets that I can just download as an MP4, as a JPEG into my streaming service and just start playing around. But we've created this entire scene completely here in Adobe Express. All of the assets, the iconography, the fonts. We've even developed our own color palette for the specific series of live streaming at night. So it's called Lightroom Nightcap, by the way. Really cool. I'm actually going to be doing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So check out our Behance actually for that. And yeah, I'm so excited because now I have my assets. We created them together. We created a really cool logo. Oh, which by the way, we're going to be creating this today. We created a really sweet logo, which I love because I used all the typography available here on Adobe Express. And of course, my handy Cooper Bold font, which I will always love. And we created a variation for that too. So today I want to talk about scheduling my post. And the reason why is because now that I've created all of these cool assets, who's going to show up, right? It's really like a question of, hey, I got to share my creativity. I got to let folks know that I'm going to be streaming. So I have to create a assets for me to market. So I'm going to put on my marketing hat now and start to repurpose some of these assets to create a design that's going to go on my socials, right? So let me show you really fast, because this is Adobe Express, on how we make that happen. So I'm going to grab this specific layout that we've already created, and I'm just going to duplicate this scene. So let me just get this in here to be sure. And if you're keeping up and designing along with me, that's awesome. If you're working on your own projects and listening to this and learning as you go, pretty cool too. All right, so let's see. We're gonna duplicate this scene right here. That's different from creating a brand new scene. Now I have a copy of this. So without tampering with my previous one, I can repurpose this by using this exact set of design assets that we created here. And we're going to repurpose it for a sizing that fits our socials. So I'm going to go into my Instagram. So I'm going to do this 1080 by 1080. We're going old school. We're doing that OG square. And so you can see here, of course, this is coming from a landscape view. So it did a pretty good job at just creating this version already. And if I wanted to animate that, it's a matter of clicks, and I can begin to animate this scene too. So it's super cool that I was able to just repurpose all of those assets. And just like that, I'm able to have material for me to promote on social media, right? Because in general, most things go unheard of if you do not create the noise right for it. So it's really important for you to advocate for yourself and create these assets so that you can showcase them on social media. So I'm going to actually repurpose these assets and continue to play with the layout. So I know that this layout isn't quite it. The font is a little bit smaller and I can start dragging things along and try to see. I'm going to hit none for now so I can stop. Try to see how we can repurpose these assets. I can move things around and differentiate the layout a little bit so it's bigger. We can do that, but we can also go in here into layout and do it in a faster way, right? So I'm going to go into layout and start to see how many other options I may have. So we're going to get to schedule this post shortly because this is already kind of going super fast. So I'm going to go into some of these layouts and start testing how it can play with the layout design of this preview. However, what I am most intrigued about is adjusting the sizing of this part here, which happens to be my actual content, not just the background, but also the content. You notice here that what it's changing is just the background, which is a cool way to just, remix it, refresh it, make something new, make something more specific to Instagram's layout. Let's say I do that, for example, but I want to adjust the middle. So we're going to want to click this on. So it says move content with background. So I'm going to move that content along with the layout. So you can start to see it shifts it across. And I'm going to go into a kind of more complex grid. Let's try something like this. I started to play with something like this because I like all of these spaces and I started to think it's a little bit harder for it to arrange it. So of course, I'm going to step in. I am the artist at the end of the day, so I get consensus of where things go. So I'm going to use one of these layouts here and start adjusting some of these graphics. So I know this is kind of what I'm into. This is what I want to do. And maybe I have my logo right in the middle, so I can adjust this color. And all of these, if I'm going a little bit fast for you, don't worry. All of these restreams are going to be available, and you can check out slowly how we have gotten to get acquainted with a lot of the tools I'm using at this moment right before your eyes. So it's a lot of these little things you become really fluent in, and you start to step into that flow, and that's everything you aspire for, as a designer, as an aspiring designer. It's something really, really helpful to always have, is to enter that amazing flow. If you talk to someone about it, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so just like that, I'm creating these really, really fast designs. And of course, I'm repurposing my assets, which makes my design cohesive with everything I've been creating so far, so that when folks see this and then they step into my live stream, they have a recognition of more or less what this is going to look like, right? And they actually say, okay, I'm in the right place, because branding works in that way. It has that familiarity across all communication channels. And just like that, we created a post. That's pretty cool, right? We repurposed our assets, designed, resized it to Instagram OG original square sizing, 1x1 sizing. If you were back in those days, we were shooting with our phones. You remember? Okay, so we also designed repurposed our layout with the help of just Adobe Sensei, and just repurposing our assets in different forms. And just like that, it took away that guesswork from me. And so that's really cool. Now I have this post and I have this post, which I was experimenting with earlier. Pretty cool, right? And that's just the grid system, right? So of course, we want to add some animations. Another element that we got to learn during our stream, we got to learn how to do animations, which lie within text animations and photo animations. So I can choose to animate the images. So the images in our design are primarily here at the bottom, so that's very attention grabbing. Or we can do a bit of a text oriented animation. And of course, these can be downloaded as MP4s. They can be downloaded as PNGs if you just want a static image. If you want a transparency because you want this white background to be transparent, for example, that's also very possible. But then you have this option where you have several places to touch base with your scheduled calendar, right? You have this here, it says news, schedule your content to social media. We can go there. Or we can go into this tiny little icon here that also says schedule your post. And by the way, if you are not a premium member, you do get access to about 2 a month, which is pretty cool, right? If you want to test it out. If you are a premium member, I think you can go wild and it's really, really cool. So you can schedule months at a time. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. I wish this existed back in the day when I was going so hard on social media, just trying to like get that community going. I'm still going hard, but I'm focusing more on the YouTube. So, okay, we're going to schedule this and we're going to go in here and hit this little icon. And so it basically takes me to this new post interface. And in here, we have pretty much what we're accustomed to within our phone interface. We get to write our captions, right? So I'm going to write hello. Again with my typos. Okay, hello world. And that's cool. That's awesome. But I know I like to add a little bit of fun and quirkiness to mine. If I'm going fishing, I'm going to use that icon. You know, I love using stuff, so I can do that here too. I can still involve some emojis, so that's pretty awesome because maybe that's part of the way that I grab attention to my caption. And of course, I can write a whole lot more. You can toss in those hashtags in there and the works, right? Up here, you have select your channels. So you have a way to connect Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn. That's pretty awesome because you can choose not only to select one of those posts, but if you have them all connected, which right now I have only one, but still, you can have several connections per post. That means that when it launches all across the board, right? So that's pretty awesome because we all know that this part of our design, the promotion of our design, you know, it isn't maybe the popular opinion, but it is hard work. It takes a lot of time, a lot of love and care. So we know that we love things like this that help us utilize our time in a way that really is efficient and functional, and it still lets us be funky and fun in the way that we express ourselves on social media. So I'm going to actually make this, when it comes to Instagram, there's a bit of a different step. Just be aware of that because in all of these other spaces, there is just going to go live, right? It's going to launch. On Instagram, it's going to publish via your mobile app, which means you might want to download. It's going to give me this little thing. You might want to download then Adobe Express, and I've done it already. If you've seen my last fishing post when I went fishing in the Everglades, that was through Adobe Express schedule. So that was really cool. I got a little notification on my phone that said, hey, your post is ready. Do you want to publish it? And I'm like, yeah, I do want to publish it. That's pretty cool. My copy was already there. My media was already there, which is super awesome. And so we have our media here that we just created super fast, right? Light speed. So all of that was already there, and I just had to verify it, look at it, you know, because, you know, I like to make sure things are okay, and then just hit publish. So it wasn't that hard. It also gives you that little nudge if in case maybe you aren't ready, maybe you want it for a different time because it's a little bit more strategic for your audience. Then you have that moment to reconsider. So I'm going to actually include in here my first comment. So I could be like, hey, follow cynlagos.com to keep up with the schedule. So we can use that first comment as almost as another a second thought, another point of communication to details and things like that, right? And we can include that already within our post schedule. Now, another element of this, and I want you to just think about this. It's pretty interesting because when we loaded our media, it isn't just loading a quick JPEG. We made it an MP4. So as it's loading, it's quite literally deciding, hey, I'm going to format this because we were just on a working file. We were just on a working file. We did not need to hit export and then go to the schedule. We actually just came right in here, and you saw that took maybe a little minute, but for good reason. It was processing the sizing and it was converting it to an MP4. Not a GIF, because Instagram doesn't accept GIFs, right? So it has all of that knowledge ahead of time so that you're not having to do all those maybe 4 steps that we're completely skipping altogether, which is great. I'm happy about that. That's great. So in here, to get a little bit more acquainted with this scene, we have a date to be published. Today's the 3rd. Wow, we're already on the 3rd of February, 2023. So we're on the 3rd. I want to publish it then. Cool. That seems awesome. And then at what time do I want to publish it? Maybe I want to say, I want to publish it at, I don't know, 4 p.m., something like that. And I can choose to schedule it, or I can choose to draft my post, right? So I can choose for it to just be ready to go live at that hour, or I can draft it. I'll come back to this. I'm not quite ready with the copy. Maybe I still want to add some media and go in here, which, by the way, is so interesting because as you're adding media, we just came from our working file. But if you were to go directly into your scheduler, then you can add the media manually, and you have 2 options. You have Adobe Express, all of your assets, all your working files. You can start to see some of the things that I've been working on. Oh, there's that fishing carousel that I had done. And so it's pretty cool. I get to just grab those working files directly from here. Or I can go into my device and then start uploading a file, right? Pretty cool, pretty easy. So one of the things I want to do is I'm going to add the draft here for now. And so let's do that. Oh, select a date. Let's select this is tomorrow, I guess. There you go. All right. So you can start to see some of my, okay, this calendar does not have the amount of stuff that my calendar has, but I want it to look busy. I want to aspire for that kind of engagement and connection and organization. I would love that. So in order to do that, I create posts, and I can download my posts, and I can schedule, and I can draft. That's exciting. I feel like that alone is already inspiring as I'm getting more and more acquainted with this. And hopefully it's inspiring for you too. If you're just like me, where we love organizing things, it just helps, we're business people at the end of the day too, right? We're artists and we do everything else. So I have in here, actually, in this section, we're going to be able to see within my calendar, we can start to see the different filters like draft. We can schedule, we can look at the schedules, we can look at the published, at maybe something that didn't go right. Maybe you can source things out like that, right? Like you can troubleshoot. So even that is put into consideration, which I really appreciate. By the way, anywhere you see this little light bulb, hit it, and it'll take you to a space where you can learn even more about the program that you're in. Wherever you see that little light bulb, just go in there. Yes, it's copy. Yes, we're going to have to read, but sometimes you look at these things and you find this little thing that you're like, wow, that was a game changer. And I love doing that because this is coming directly from Adobe. So they're always keeping up and just like any updates that are going on within these spaces and taking us into account to make it that much better, which I really love. So another thing I want to do in here, which I want to show you, is that I created this draft previously. So you can see that anything that is unscheduled, that hasn't been included within a date, will live on this left-hand side section. So what I want to do is introduce it into one of my dates. And this is a very visual space, right? So I can click on it and then go into the scheduler and select a published date, or I can simply click and drag. And just like that, I have a new post, and that could be an awesome workflow for you to rearrange things that are going to fit better. If you got a new gig and you want to promote that brand, you can look at this calendar and say, well, actually, I have a post scheduled for that hour. Maybe that's a conflict. Maybe I need to move it over here. Maybe I need to toss some things around because this one coincides with the brand I'm talking about. So it'd be a perfect like tie-in to that event with that time that I went to New York, and also the brand at the same time. This is how my brain is going. And when I look at this calendar, it's a blank canvas for a lot of opportunity, right? So we can look at it from a week point of view. We can look at it from a month. So we can start to see the different posts that we have in here, different schedules. And I want to schedule some more, right? I have so many different posts that I want to add. So I'm going to add a new one here, create, add new, and then go to Adobe Express. And maybe I want to just add my icon. That's cool. It's already in a 1x1. So I'm already loving that I can maybe, one of the things that I love playing with on the grid is just creating this layout where it's like completely devoted to a single concept. So even like on the grid, if you have 3 images and you want to showcase the logo in the center and then 2 callouts on the right hand side, I can do that. I can schedule this post and it's going to go in here and start to manage the way I do it. So, did it not include it? Maybe it's one of those. Oh, this is a multiple page work, right? We have like maybe 3 pages in here. So that's something that you might want to consider. So as you're posting, you get to select which one you want to do. So you might want to download it and then repurpose it and then schedule it, right? So I'm going to create, I think, one more design as we continue to create our assets to promote this. We're going to continue to repurpose some of these elements that we have. So I have this section, which has different color palettes, and it also has my image in here and has these really cool assets that we had used. So, and then this really cool font that I really enjoy. So I'm going to repurpose this in the same fashion, and we're going to do it super fast, super express. And we're going to, again, resize. And this time, I think I want to resize for a YouTube thumbnail. Okay, that looks really cool. Maybe I want to design for a LinkedIn blog post. So many options. I think it starts to kind of become this thing. Maybe I want to design a poster and I have my own logo in my studio of sorts. There's just so many different opportunities here. A Facebook profile, that could be a cool way to highlight your theme during that week while it's going on, and then switch it up to something else. Okay, maybe I want to do a Facebook profile. Maybe I want to change the background. So I'm going to make sure that this isn't an exact copy of my intro, but it still has something remixed in and included within it. So I'm going to go into my organic backgrounds that I think that's become one of my favorite categories in here. So I'm going to go in here and maybe select this little polka dot pattern, and I really kind of like being able to play around with the different patterns, because even though the pattern is different in its sense, it just creates a little bit of interest, but you can still have a cohesion by including a filter color so that the pattern itself is involved within your branding. And that's not the color. We're going to go in here and pick from our nightcap branding color palettes we've pre-selected. And I can go in here, select that orange, go in here, select that that royal blue or this color. And that's pretty awesome that we can just do that super fast and start to refresh this scene all together and start to do something really interesting and change it up. We can always adjust any of these elements, start to play around here. And that's already going to create assets for us to place across multiple platforms. And I think that's the key here, right? We are oftentimes, working on our own projects. We don't have large budgets to be creating, TV commercials. So social media is a wonderful way to um, repurpose your design that you already worked hard on and have access to a large community, have access to a big audience. Folks are willing to support you throughout your journey. I think that's pretty awesome. So just like that, I created this asset. I'm gonna create this animation here because I'm in love with creating these quick animations. They've become really, really fun. So just like that, I created this awesome animation, and I can always schedule it. I can always download it and share on my platforms. And this has already been like amazing. I am so glad that I've been part of teaching you, or your journey, being part of your education, self-education journey. Keep up with any of the replays of the live stream. Keep up with us on Adobe Live on YouTube. Subscribe so we can connect as a community. This is a wonderful space. Thank you for being with me, and happy Friday.